Uh, what a mess, huh? Hopefully, we'll get this squared away as we go. Right, let me bring you guys up here. For those that are new to this, new to the channel, subscribe and like and all that fun stuff. And hit the notification bell. That way you can see when I go live, because this is a whole lot more fun if I do this with other people. Um, yeah. So I get I get a kick out of this, and it's much more of a kick if we do it live together. That way we can actually learn something, you know. And I get to learn from you guys. You know what I mean? So I'm going to bring you up here, hopefully. And this phone is old and slow, but I want to see comments, so we're going to have you on there. Going to have you on here. That we can see comments. And I try to answer stuff um, in real time. So three people here. Who's here? So we're going to try to put together a 262 today. This is for Luke. And yeah, so he sent this thing to me, and it's definitely needing more parts than I think either of us thought. But whatever, we're going to get it. We're definitely going to get it. So what I would do is just do the recoil first. Because some of these things, like the tank assembly, the recoil assembly, the brake and clutch, um, the brake assembly, all this stuff needs to be assembled, cleaned and assembled, and all that stuff separate, kind of. So let's do that, uh, and then we'll get to the crankcase, which of course is the much more exciting part, in my opinion. Um, but just to show real quick, there's a crack here on the brake. So you can't leave it like that. This is a safety device, and if you get a crack, that's no good. So a crack in the safety device means it's not going to be safe when you need it to be safe. So the good news is I have new. Brand new. So, yep, feel free to throw up live chat, comments, questions, whatever you want, and I'll try to address those as we go. If you workshop, you were new, Jay sent me. Wonderful. Well, you as well. Yeah, have a good weekend. It's going to be, hopefully, going to be a good weekend. So this is not, I don't have anything scripted. Just so you know, I don't have anything scripted. Stuff goes wrong all the time, etc., etc. Um, this is not a cooking show. I don't necessarily have everything laid out and ready to go perfectly. I have a few things I've kind of done some preparation here, but for the video, but not generally much. This is kind of, my shop is kind of as you see it. It really isn't a shop. It's just my basement. So figured, you know what? Let's put a new pull cord in here. And while I was at it, I figured I'd get this all cleaned out. Pretty clean. There's actually some cracks in the plastic here, but I think that'll be fine in the shroud. I'd like to do is put a WD-40 on the spring here. Maybe it's something. So let's get some pull rope here. Now, on some of these, you can knot it. On others, you have to wrap it. So this one looks like we can knot it. So it will. And I do like to have extra pull cord. So this one feels a little short to me. 6 or 8 inches. Now, there's only so much you can wrap up in one of these, obviously, because the watch spring here can only handle so much, but I can always trim this later if it's too much. Here's my heat. And what I do like to do is any of the old customer stuff, I'll actually put in a box for the customer. Definitely don't want you guys to confuse me with anybody professional either. I just did this for fun. We get a giggle. And going live with you guys. You know what I mean? We had just a single knot here, so hopefully that works. Sometimes you have to wrap it around there, otherwise it gets stuck in the pawls. But if you sometimes you put a knot and it doesn't get stuck in the pawls. So we'll wrap this up and see. That's actually gonna be a pretty good length. Wrap that this way through. There we go. Now what I do like to do is have my hemostats. Now it's got it grabbed. You know, I'm not seeing too many comments here. Let's see. Do we have any? Oh, okay. Sometimes I got lots of people here. Sometimes I don't. I know it's Saturday afternoon, so I kind of assume that there are some other streams that are going, which is fine. Let's do this. Back. Nice and smooth. Washer in. Screw in. That's not so good. Great. So I need something that's a little heavier. Okay, well that screw doesn't work. Good thing I've got lots of other screws. giant big box. There's a flywheel screw. That might work fine. Let's see. That's only 3mm. That's not work. Near the saw world, building in the basement as well. Concerned about airflow problems. Lots of factory saws. Airflow problems on a lot of factory saws. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, what are you getting at there? Too little air for cooling purposes, or for what do you or for like air fuel ratio? I don't generally see issues with either. Well, that's smooth, huh? You're gonna like that, Luke. It's good. Pressurizing the air box. You think it's too little flow to the air box? Because modern saws have way more flow to the air box than previous saws had. So, like, as if, for instance, the one I'm building today is actually, it says, air injection. So I think this was one of the first saws to have it, where it actually does pressurize the air box, sort of. I don't know if it's pressurizing the air box so much as just making sure there's flow to it. And this is not a. This is kind of the 262s were kind of the beginning of modern saws almost. They probably fall into that category of like literally the beginning of modern, what is known as a modern chainsaw. They were very much ahead of their time in that way. Pump sock, they need direct fresh air. So what you're saying is that the carb box should be separate from the air injection, essentially. That's kind of what you're getting at. Yeah, effectively, air injection is kind of like turbo, if you will, as opposed to just literally naturally aspirated. So you think that saws should be naturally aspirated? Is that So I've seen plenty of guys run the green weenies or whatever it is for the intakes. I guess that works fine too. Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, but yeah, I am not an expert on that. That's for sure. Now, I don't have any problem with the 262 or 394 in particular. My favorite saw um, has air injection as well, but it's not really a pump. It's just you're directing air off the flywheel into the carb box. Turbo would be obviously a direct from the exhaust to create pressure, but which isn't really good. Okay, maybe it would actually be closer to a supercharger, right? Um, it's not either. It just directs air so that there's more air towards the carb box. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not probably not the guy to ask about that, but I don't necessarily think that there's a problem with it. You know, theoretic. I see what you're saying, like for in theory, but the practical use is everything's just fine type of thing. Right. So it's the same logic like as a supercharger, because you're taking power directly off the motor to generate pressure with a supercharger, as opposed to kind of indirectly with the exhaust. So here's the gas tank. One thing we need. Don't necessarily need it. Puck fit? Ah. This is not designed for puck. Okay. So then it's just I'm just going to leave the tank vent like that because there is a little puck in there. So I'm going to get rid of this. As far as we don't need it. Fuel tank vent. Good. That over there. I need to cross that off the list. Fine particulates mixed with fresh air is problematic. Problematic for what? What's the mode of failure? Yeah, people say all kinds of stuff all the time. Again, you knew. It's all right. That's fine. One thing I like to talk about is failure modes. What's the actual mode of failure that you're thinking about? Because I hear stuff all the time. Okay, that saw sucks, or you could just say, hey, this saw isn't going to last. What does that actually mean? You mean the plating is going to wear out on the head, or do you think the rubber is going to go bad on the seals? Where's the actual point of failure? Because in a chainsaw, a pinhole in a fuel line will put the saw on a shelf just as fast as toasting the head. So there are all kinds of things here to consider with failure modes. Do fine particulates really have an effect on things? If they get into the head, sure. I would definitely consider that premature wear of the piston and cylinder if fine particulates get in there. But that just simply has to do with the filtration system, not so much the pump. My opinion on that. I think it's a great discussion, though. I do. I loved talking about failure modes because, at least partially because the aftermarket parts debate is hugely based on that, right? And there are plenty of aftermarket parts that I use. That's an aftermarket fuel filter. Who cares? Does it flow? Yeah. Is it intact? Yeah. Weighted? It's good enough. This is actually steel fuel line instead of a Husky OEM. In this case, I prefer the steel fuel line because it's cheaper. I can't stand paying whatever Husky wants for their line. Is dumb. Dumb, dumb, dumb. So you pressurize a box too much in ductwork and AC motor failure. Again, okay, motor failure. What does that mean? There's too much load on the motor? Is that what you're saying? See, I'm kind of a pain like this. I'll start asking questions. Because people just say failure sometimes, but they don't actually know what the mode is. Because in chainsaws, you are, yeah, you're pressurizing a box, but it's not really causing a huge amount of excess load on the motor. I can't imagine the motor itself is feeling much excess load, because it has to spin that flywheel anyway. And comparatively speaking, if there's excess load, I can't possibly imagine that the box is generating enough load to really affect, as a percentage, comparatively to what load is being put on the motor with the actual cutting of wood. You know what I mean? Extra load is extra load. You're right. I just can't imagine that the air injection actually causes enough extra load to put a burden on the motor that is significant. Maybe that's a better way to put it. Low tops blowing off? I've never seen that. I'd like to. That'd be cool. Maybe I'd be proud of myself. Okay, so this tank is pretty good. Matt Workshop, hey, welcome. If you're deep in a cut, though, I mean, if you have a 5 horsepower motor and you're, pulling 4.9 into the cut, you're putting 0.1 into a box. Is it really? I just don't think it's going to make a difference. Yeah, I've never seen that. I've never seen a box actually blowing off. And the clips hold it pretty good. And there's also enough leak to the box. I think there's enough leak to the box that it just doesn't really change anything. But you can do the on a 262. It's actually probably quite easy to do the experiment. You just pull the air jet off. Pull the air jet off, and that way it doesn't channel anything into the box necessarily. The box just gets what it gets. Actually, you know what we should do? We're gonna do I got a box here. Speaking of air jets, right? I don't have an air jet because we didn't have one on this stinking saw. So now I had to go find one. And oh, by the way, these are completely unobtainium. You cannot find them. Nobody's got them. Except right, on a 372, you can take the jet off also. If you really feel like it, just take the jet off and see, is it really that workshop? We're talking about, he asked about pressurizing boxes and concern about additional load on motors. So, because this, the 262 we got here is air injection, right? And pretty much any time you add additional load to a motor, it can cause failure, right? Any additional load will put additional whatever on a motor. I don't think it makes a difference. There's the air jet. That's beautiful. And we have this rubber piece, which goes in the case halves, and then this block. Now with the blocks, I'm going to see if I can show you guys this. So this is the new block, that's the old block. Let's see if can you guys see the crack? That's not good, huh? So then, new block. No cracks. No cracks. So, thank you to my good buddy Barry for doing this. This is, if you guys look him up on OPE Forum, it's Agrarian, A-G-R-A, A-G-R-A-R-I-A-N, Agrarian, on OPE Forum. And it's also, it's Barry's Chainsaw Shop on eBay, I think. But he pulled these parts for me, and I really do appreciate it, because we were not going to get this built otherwise. Yeah, some of this stuff is just near on impossible to get. So actually, the most impossible thing here that we are going to, this actually comes from my collection. This is by far the most impossible thing to get. This is actually a flapper, for a dust flapper, and these are originals. And Luke, you're going to get an original, but we'll get to that in a bit. Actually, I guess we can get to that now. Where is? Let's do that next. All right, so we put all these nifty new parts over here. So those three parts were not cheap. Anybody thinks that this build is cheap, they're wrong. This is click back. I'm going to pull this apart here. Yes, if you find performance one way or another, I mean, that's awesome. I'm not, I don't know. It's an interesting theory. I'll give you that. Again, let me show you guys. Right here, see the crack? That's no good. Now, I could just put this back, the new one back on there, but can't actually do that because the brake band is no good too. So we really start having a build that starts getting expensive in a hurry. Be better to have a new one of these, but I don't think it really matters for what we're doing. Pull off the 4 screws and look out for the spring. 1, 2, 3. Like I said. There's 5 screws. Usually there's only 4. Grab this out of here. Springs are a bugger. This should just lift right out. Per usual, my experience with chainsaw parts is that it should do something, and it doesn't. Let me see if I can get rid of this spring being weird here. There we go. So, pin there, I gotta pull. And this should just pop right out. It should just come. I don't understand what's holding it in there. It just sits in there. Thanks. Good evening. Oh, well, yeah, we're doing all right. I've been not feeling good for the last few weeks, but I'm definitely doing better. There. Just fall out. Fall out. Anyway. Doing better. I had the stomach thing for a while. I ate something that was wrong. Shouldn't have done that. Pop the pin out. No. Don't lose that pin. Yeah, might as well pull this all the way apart. So now I can actually go throw this into the ultrasonic and get that cleaned. I'll get this cleaned as well. Clean this too. And the knee as well. 1 screw here. Break this the same as the 5 screws on the top. Bring that out like that. Now you got it. This brake band is buggered, you can see. So the knee I will clean. This roll pin you want to save, and the brake band gets tossed back for the customer. Got a new one right here. But let's throw all this in the ultrasonic and get that cleaning. I'll be right back. Okay. Do I think a pop-up piston in a 350? Yeah. How much compression do you need? If you do everything right in the 350 without a pop-up, you can do 200 pounds without too much trouble. Ingmars, welcome. You have norovirus in the UK. Yeah, I mean, I ate something, beef carpaccio. I was out at a very nice restaurant. I go out a lot, but I was out at a very nice restaurant and I ended up with eating beef carpaccio, and I shouldn't have done that. And that messed up my stomach for a while. I've had a kink in my neck for weeks now, and it's much better right now, but it still is uncomfortable. I've just never had that before. And then on the heels of that, my sinuses started going completely nuts after I had cheddar cheese. Cheddar cheese and I do not get along, so my sinuses, so I was miserable 3 different directions. And so that really kills ambition, if you know what I mean. All right, what's next? The cylinder. I need to work on this for just a minute. Let me put all this other stuff over here. A moment, bench off a little bit. These metal trays help in such a huge way. Just keeps everything organized. Okay. Let's do all this. Fish paper, as Ken calls it. Well, the other thing about like saws and power is that it really, in order to really tell a difference, and I certainly believe there's a difference between ported saws and not. There's all kinds of different levels of porting, but I have a tendency to think that you really need a dyno to tell it. And I'm doing less and less cutting these days. Just I don't have lots going. I don't do lots of cutting. I do a few rebuilds here and there. You guys are watching me do rebuilds, of course, but good timing numbers for a 350. I like somewhere around 105, 123, and 78 to 80 on the intake. That's what I like. And by the way, I've mentioned that lots of times. So if you haven't heard that before, that's been mentioned tons of times in my 350 videos. So what I usually tell folks is that if you haven't watched the videos, go back and watch them. Take notes and then come ask questions. So, because what happens is I get inundated with questions about stuff I've answered a zillion times, and yeah, kind of the point of me doing all the videos is that I can offer you guys hopefully real-time entertainment, but other than that, a repository of information so that you guys have a reference to go back and watch. All right, so what am I doing here? So I don't think we're going to do anything too major to this, but the exhaust is kind of ugly, so I got to grind on that a little bit. Scotch Brite. Nice. Okay, there's that. Next. I'm just going to use this to kind of gently clean things up. Not going to go crazy with port work here. That's not the idea for this particular build. Intake through these silly lines. I don't like it. Like casting lines. I don't like them. you know, not super smooth, but even on the intake floor is important. Even. Now I'm going to run here with some sandpaper. Sandpaper. Don't need to go too crazy. Just some 60 grit is fine. Got a drywall screw that I put a slot in. That's what I use. And you can do these up mild to wild, whatever you want to do. There's no decompression valve here, so I'm a little leery with increasing compression and doing lawn support work and whatnot. Just get this nice and clean. Have I ever made a pipe? No. So a better way to put that is that it's not my focus, right? I struggle just to get saws running, you know, basically rebuilding these things and getting them running, let alone trying to make them perform super duper. It's just, you know, it's not my focus, if that makes any sense. You can, right. Everybody's got a different thing. If you like hot rodding chainsaws, knock yourself out. Who am I to say no? But it's not my focus. I just bring them back to life. It's not that I don't have hot rods. not that I don't, have performance. It's just that it's not necessarily a focus. You can go to 1,000 grit if you want, but I don't. I'm just going to stick with the 50 here. 50 grit. Better. I'm going to wash this. I'll be right back. Alright, we got stuff going in the ultrasonic. We got a bunch of stuff ready to go here. I'd say we're about ready to do the cases. What do you guys think? McCulloch's. See, I'm not familiar with the McCulloughs, Partners, Echo. I'm somewhat familiar with Steel. Mostly do Husky. That's just been me. It's been, again, my experience. everybody does a different experience. For the most part, Husky tends to make the most sense to me. A lot of the other brands just don't make any sense. And like, especially the older McCullochs, they're cool for certain people. But since parts are basically impossible to find, for me, what's the point? You know what I mean? Hey, Dan. Members are one part of the building. Yeah, you know, I like to set squish first, and then you start mucking around with numbers. But a 350 is a great place to mess around, you know. Good spot to start and muck around with. Okay. Bearings. Right. Got some new natches. Now, this bearing pocket's easy. You just pull the bearing in, no problem. This one's a little trickier because you have the bearing, or the seal holder, rather. And this needs to be installed first, bearing pulled against it, and then reinstalled. So you want to do the Trixie one first? Let's do the Trixie one first. I think, if I remember right, 1, 2, 3. Is that what those go? Yeah. All right. Here's how we do this. So this O-ring that O-ring needs to be replaced. Seal needs to be replaced too. That's split. It's hard. Let's do it this way. Just go in here. Basically tap it down. Sometimes you need my seal puller. That one. And tap it down. Nope. Where did my seal puller go? Gonna be kind of disappointed here. Can't find that thing. Sometimes I can get in there with a really big screwdriver. Too big. this case, you need to actually pop it down like that. There we go. Okay. There, it moved. It's like opening up a clamshell. No clams for me. Okay, anyway. Different story. Officially, these are a pain. There you go. Now, these are the ideal seal holder as opposed to the plastic ones. These are less likely to warp. Now I gotta polish this up. We'll get to it, don't worry. Hey, Craig. Howard, thanks for showing up. Working 7 days a week. Ouch. Man. I'm sorry, Craig. Hope you've been banking it, you know. I actually had a few weeks there where I was working more. I got real tired. Real tired of that real fast. But right now I'm working on A, feeling better, but B, we're still working on the house. So there's an enormous amount of work going on with the house. Just gotta clean that up a little bit. Thanks for the link, Craig. Appreciate it. All right. So now there's no rubber at all in here. Take this piece. One, two, three. These screws do not need to be in super tight. Just make sure it gets held down. So all this is doing is positioning the bearing. That's all that's doing. Getting a seal, that's going to go to the customer. Hey, Craig, I have basically everything's at mattschainsawparts.com right now. Well, sort of. The HL supply link is, yeah, great. Thank you. There you go. 60 gallons of sap. Yeah, oh yeah, trees, but not just budding. I got cherry blossoms coming out today. Beautiful. Very excited. So I've got some anti-seize here. Don't need much. A little bit on there. Yeah, people can contact me for these crank tools that I'm going to use here in a minute. They can contact me through the website. I don't check my email as often as I should, but you know, I am available through there. Clean and degreased. Alright, Natchies. These are like old school Natchies. Pop the seals out. I leave the grease in there. Now, if the bearing slides in, you've got a problem. Probably going to end up replacing the case half. You want it tapped in and fairly straight. Do not hit the inner race. Just started. That's all you want. Now, this is 1/2-inch threaded rod with a nice assortment of washers. I like the fender washers, nice and wide. Now, I don't think you're going to pull this beyond flush, so you don't need a slightly smaller washer, but it is important to have that just in case. Anyway, okay. Nice thing is you can actually use a scratch on one of these, and on the other, 3/4 inch impact. So you know what? Not quite going straight. It's not quite going straight. So you know, it's a little cockeyed. Tap it back straight. And you can hear it. You can hear it and say, yeah, there's a change in sound. Now it's straight. You can do this with hand wrenches, you can use an impact, whatever you want to do. You can do this with hot cold too. Heat up the case, drop the bearing in. There it goes. Now, if you want to feel it. That's it. Back it off. Now your bearing is pulled down in place. That's seated as far as it'll go. Now we can, right, we got to pull the seal holder off. You're going to need that off for getting the crank in here. Again, just 1/2-inch threaded rod with a nice assortment of washers. Like the scratch idea? Yeah. Well, it's a 3/4 inch or 19 millimeter, whatever it is. So it works on these nuts for 1/2-inch threaded rod. So when you're using the bearing, or the crank tools rather, when you're using the crank tools, the bearings have to be positioned properly in the crankcase first. That's important. So that bearing is positioned just fine there. And we'll set the seal holder aside for later. However, while we have it out, might as well. New seal. You could just tap that in, or if you're a little bit on the picky side, use a little bit of anaerobic sealer. Mm-hmm. Come on. All right. Here to go. Just have to get it started just the right way. That's not the right way. Come on, man. Okay. Quite be big enough. Perfect. And those just sit in there flush. Just make sure the spring is in there too. Done. You're welcome, Doug. Always gotta figure out different ways to do things too. Wish I always had it, but I don't. You know what I mean? Okay. That's one bearing. Let's do the other bearing. Let's do that. Let's do a little bit of. Make sure these surfaces are clean and degreased. Okay. Again, I've gone in here and actually cleaned internally, so with the wire wheel. Anti-seize. Just helps the bearing going a little smoother. You know, you don't. Sorry. That was my neighbor. Call him back. Get rid of the seals. Same deal for this, except you have a positive stop here for the bearing, so you just pull it in as far as it'll go, basically. Bearings pulled in. Done. So this we can put away. Again, just a piece of threaded rod. It's nothing too crazy. All right, what's next? Now we need to get a crank in here, I think. A little bit of cleanup here. Don't need all this. I don't need that. I don't need this wrench. Fish paper. Okay. It's oiled up nice. No cracks in the cage. Fine crank. So that'll work right fine here. Let's put this. I like to do the PTO side first. Just the way I like to do things. So now we need an M10 rod. This guy. So I do sell these kits. The kit that I sell covers most of the relevant chainsaws. Most of them. And rod. This is a large sleeve. That goes on there. It grabs the inner race of the bearing, not the outer. You don't want to put any lateral forces on the bearing. That's super important. So you have a handle that goes on here. Everything goes on loosey-goosey. There's nothing tight here. washer and a nut. And all you're doing here is either pushing the bearing onto the crank or pulling the crank into the bearing, depending on your perspective. So I do sell these kits. You can go to the above links in the live chat here. You can go to the links that Craig put up. Crank it on down. So you'll notice I got the ratchet over here, the handle here, and now this hand's free to control whatever's going on over here. And if you get in the middle of this and you need to take a phone call, you take a phone call. There's no heating something up or cooling something down. And this is completely safe for the bearings. Completely safe. You're not going to put flats on the bearings. If you do the hot cold thing, you might get something stuck. I've done that plenty of times. That's it. Do this. Do that. In here. Pull this apart. These kits last near on forever. It's pretty rare that I have requests for new parts. There's just nothing to wear out on these. I've had guys, that want to harden these. There's no point, but you can if you want. Okay. That. This. Now what's nice is we have this piece. Goes right there. Boop, done. All right, so now we're at the point where we need a case gasket, which I have, and we need some goop. And then we need case bolts. Two anterior case bolts. Now, you may or may not want to put Loctite on these, depending on where you are in the process here. So we have two anterior case bolts, a lower case bolt, 4 case bolts, and a rear. There's our 5. Now, we need some goops, Loctite, and 3-bond. Right, so the next thing is Loctite, and I am going to Loctite these up because I've got a dog that I'm going to put on here. If you're putting the crankcase together and planning on taking the interior case bolts out and mucking around with the dog later, you might not want to use Loctite on those 2 case bolts. Just saying. Now, think of this as like added insurance. 3 bonds, 1184. If everything is clean and neat, do you technically need it? No, you don't. Per usual, I do the flywheel side first because that's where the positioning pins are. So the case gasket is going to hold on this particular side. So I want this to tack first while I'm doing that side. Now, 1184 is not anaerobic sealer. So if you get it in the wrong spot, it's gonna set. And it might be a problem. So don't get it in the wrong spot. Okay, let's do this side. Again, clean and degreased. Surfaces are flat. If you want to go crazy, put these on a granite plate with some sandpaper. Make darn sure they're flat. You could do this before you pulled the crank in as well. I don't typically, because I don't want to get the crank all muckied up. Not that you can't muck it here, doing it this way. So. A light coat, that's all you need. Roy the boy, welcome. I think we have a bunch of UK people here today. I can't see how many people. It says like there's only 3 people in chat here, but I know that there's more than that. 7, 8 people. No, 7 people in chat. Okay. Yeah, here it only says 3, so whatever. Welcome just the same. So what I'm doing now is just putting some 3 bonds 1184 as extra insurance for case gasket. Okay, so now this has had time to tack. I don't go all the way out here, you just don't need to. Brand new OEM gasket set. And in this case, the old gasket probably was still usable. But just gonna put fresh OEM gasket. All right, we're gooped, we're Loctited. the don't need to swap out the bar bolts. Nothing's in our way. Okay, now we need a small sleeve. Test piece. Let's see. Small sleeve for small bearings on the flywheel side. Go. Back off one. Okay, everything's loosey-goosey. That's okay. Yeah, this is just a test piece. If it pulls out, I'll just get a new one. Part of the idea with the threaded rod was that it's not as hard as the crank. So in case something gets screwed up, I'd rather the threaded rod get messed up than the crank. Especially when you're in a situation like this, where it wouldn't exactly be easy for me to get a new crank. You know what I mean? Okay. So biggest thing here, you got to get these positioning pins lined up. No harm in putting a couple of case bolts in either to help with that. One, two. Now, I am strictly putting case bolts in for positioning purposes, not pulling these case halves together, because any lateral force on the bearings defeats the purposes of the crank tools. The purpose of the crank tools is that we do not have lateral forces on the bearings. Goes together nice and easy. That's it. Doesn't need any more. Okay. While that's there, feeling good about things, put your case bolts in. Now the two interior ones go with the dog. The dog really kind of only goes one way. Now you're going to tighten all these by hand. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Double check. Just gentle check. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Case bolts are in. Again, that's it there. Reverse on that. This bolt apart. Good. Now, nice and smooth. And after a few heat cycles, this will be butter. Need some heat cycles. Now you can tap on the crank back and forth if you really feel like it. I don't generally do that. Let that. Jersey Josh. I don't know about the one that everybody loves, but I guess I'm kind of your friendly neighborhood saw builder, yeah. All right. This. Now we've got the crankcase together, which really is, I think, like the hardest part of the whole thing. The crank tools make it easy. Beautiful. Just so much easier if you use the crank tools. All right. So Loctite on these. We need a new O-ring on this. Brand new. Highly encourage you guys to go watch my Husqvarna O-ring substitution videos. All you have to do is search Husqvarna O-ring substitution, and it should come up on YouTube. And it's got all the part numbers for these O-rings. A little anaerobic seal around that. And you can do a little bit of grease. In this case, a little bit of grease on the crank. Now, if you're going to be really paranoid, use a seal installer. And because of the taper here, you don't really need to, but it still helps. It gives you confidence that the spring isn't going to pop out. All right. That goes down, and then you just oh, that's crappy. The seal holder won't let that go through. Boo. Oh well. With the taper again, you know the seal doesn't pop out. That's fine. Okay. That's it. Your seal holder's in. 1, 2, 3 screws here. Jay Daniels. Yeah, split it, man. Then watch this video about how to put it back together, obviously. Oh, here's my seal. Nah, never mind. How is it there? All my flat blades went. All my good flat blades seem to have disappeared. Can't stand flat blade, but that's that. So seal's good on that side. This side, the seal just taps in, kind of per usual. Do a little bit of anaerobic here. Definitely need the seal installer on this because there's a lip here. Goes over the lip and down. Socket. Perfect. Get a punch. Flush. The seal installer, make sure that you don't pop out that dang spring. Okay, next here. Do you want to do the oiler? Might as well do the oiler. Where'd that go? I think we want to do this piece first. I think we want to heat this up. I remember right. And then hopefully just drop it on. Get some gloves. I'm just going to heat this up a little bit. I'm going to drop it on. Blunk and see what happens. Should heat up pretty quick. This is the brass worm. Done. A little bit of WD-40 on there is not going to hurt anything. Cools it down a little bit. Doesn't bugger the seal. Perfect. All right, oiler. Now let's do this first. Always check for patent. It's patent. Put that down in there. Now this is not new rubber. Doesn't really need to be. We good? We're good. Okay. Now, super duper important. There's this little tiny piece of rubber. Oh, there. Oh, this way. Goes in here. Might be easier to put it there. And then get this to go down. Maybe. I'm pretty sure you can actually use a piece of fuel line for this too. That little piece of rubber there. What I am going to do is we're going to Loctite the 3 case bolts here. And I'm also going to 1184 right around here. Like that. Now I know the oiler works because I've tested it, so not that worried about it. And it just goes down just like that. That easy. I think these are the 3 oiler bolts. Tiny little things. 3mm head. It looks like it taps down a bit. Like it actually taps on there. Good. That's not what these are for. Don't use them for that. All right. I guess I can put the clutch and everything on. Now, I'm kind of hoping that this clutch is okay. We're going to find out. Yes, I can grease that later. This rim is worn. Brand new. Washer. Clutch. latches on. Again, while we're working on this side, we do all kinds of other crazy stuff. Let's do. Sorry. Are they okay? Okay. All right. Chain adjuster. Now, this chain adjuster needs a rubber piece here. So there's actually a number of ways you can do this. I guess you can use an O-ring, but I like to use an E-clip. Gotta find an E-clip. I've got quite an assortment. Both there and there. Two assortments here. This one. So I've got like a crazy assortment here of E-clips for just this purpose. Is 3.5 millimeter too big? In my 288 stuff, I have some of these. Ooh, that may be just right. That'll actually be perfect. Will it fit in here? Yes. Okay. Yeah, that it's not coming off like ever. So and you don't have to worry about these things wearing out either. The rubber goes bad. So the original Husky stuff goes bad over time. So now you put your adjuster in. So I think these are 3.5. This was 3.5 millimeter E-clip. Just well, yep, perfect. Yeah, once that's over that hump, that's never going bad. Right there, E-clip, perfect. Okay. Chain catcher. That one. I think I had that here somewhere. There. I remember being very specific with that chain catcher. What did I do with that? Here it is. This is actually a 272 chain catcher, but it looks like somebody modified this, so it'll fit. Not the best solution, but it's not bad. What next? Put the tank on? Once the tank goes on, it's like almost a saw, you know? Oh, I see. Hang on. Brand new part. This needs to get installed over here. It's a rubber AV piece, and these things are not cheap. They're very expensive. They always go bad, so these things always need a new one. All right. Sometimes the spring AV goes bad too, but these look like they're all right. There's a little crack there. That won't make a bit of difference. I don't think so. These are far easier to put in than 372 tanks. Generally, they're easier. They've got this bump here, and I've never understood why. Oh, come on. There's a bump here. Just got to get over that. Okay. I kind of forget what goes where. So these should be fairly short. Into the AV. I don't think these are flanged. There's one. Two. Loctite on these for sure, because there's a plastic piece that goes here. It's not perfect, but we'll do that. Okay. This really is just for the air injection. Flywheel? I'll do a flywheel. I'll do a flywheel. Five o'clock. What time did I start? How long have I been doing this? Wow, right? Wow. Now here's a spot where I like to do Loctite as well. There you go. Work. Spec is somewhere around 26 foot-pounds. I use less than that. I think that's the spec. Please do not quote me on that. I forgot something. Forgot to take off the tabs. Okay, razor blade. Great. Of course, right down in there. Man. Great. Lost the paper tab right down on the. There it is. Got it. All right. What's next? It really is best to put the cylinder and the carburetor and the whole chute down all at the same time. So, Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it. All right. Pin bearings in piston. Brand new. Hey, Pat. How you feeling? From Wolf Creek Saw Shop. I think this was the last 262 piston in the world. I can't find any more. So thanks to Wolf Creek. Do appreciate that. Since we're more or less building a stock saw here, I'm not going to really worry about squish being crazy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this together. These are the OEM clips, which are much preferable. Now, you can make an argument and say, okay, well, the Meteor clips are built for Meteor piston, but I don't think there's anything wrong with using the OEM clips here. Husky 268, what's going on, man? That's good. Good. Good to hear. Yeah, I know. I haven't been around, guys. I know. I'm really desperately trying to cut down on saw projects. I've got too much other stuff to do, at least for now. Put both the clips in here. Now, if you don't know how to put clips in, practice. These pliers have tiny little half moons in them to grab clips. Ground special, that I ground. So this is not an OEM piston, this is Meteor, but with OEM clips. OEM pin bearing, OEM clips. Now the head, can't put the head down yet because I need to work on that carburetor. So let's see if we can do a little bit of cleanup here and muck around with the carburetor. Piney Woods. Not many Roy. Let me think. How many Roys do I know? I knew one. I knew two. I have a patient that was a Roy, and I have a guy that I knew that I played croquet with. Believe it or not, really back in the day. Anyways, working on the shop too. Just split cases of Gray Top 61. Okay, cool. You have a couple of pistons. Good. There's like none in the world right now. So if you got a piston, you've got a treasure for a 262 anyway. Wolf Creek saw shop. Put a sticker right here. Boom, done. Sweet. Don't lose the. I'm gonna lose the meteor clips because I'm just not gonna trust those. Get pressure fish paper. We have our carburetor kit somewhere down here. This is a 120, so unfortunately not the nice one, but it'll work. What happened to my... I always want to put stuff away. It's like, why the heck did I do that? I don't know why. Yeah, that's worn. What's nice is kind of after a little while the shop cleans itself up. As long as I get all my projects done. Yep, that looks like it's correct. Okay. Every once in a while you get a kit that's like, yeah, it's not right. You know, something looks like it's upside down. I've seen that before. You just put the carburetor back together. That's all. Simple, right? Put the needle in. Lever height's a little tall. Perfect. Right on the money. Flush. You can pop out the Welch plug if you feel like it. I'm not going to. Sometimes these just run and other times they don't. How does the screen look? The screen looks okay, actually. Yep, goes. Okay. That goes that away. When in doubt, flush it out. Welcome, Norm. How you doing? One, two, three, four. This piece looks just goobered. Black piece goes here first. Then the diaphragm. Big screw back. Now hopefully we have a carburetor that works. Take all these little parts. Now this is all junk for sure, but still going to the customer anyway. They're all his. Now these parts, card pieces you may or may not need. Also go to the customer. Okay. Now, let's get that head. Okay. We're actually getting down to it here, which is good. Go over of some kind here. Okay. The impulse is patent. That's clean. Nikki Walsh, welcome. How you doing? So I'm not going to put any goop on this at all. Just don't think there's going to be a need to. What I will do is Loctite these. And 2-cycle oil in the bearings. Gasket. Ring. Hang it in, Nikki. It's been a rough couple of weeks for me not feeling good, but I'm on the mend. I've got so little ambition for saws these days, I'm sorry. Got too much to do as far as the house and work. Backstory is this is commissioned. It's not my saw. This is for Luke. He's a subscriber. And he just couldn't get this thing going himself, so I think he bought it for a relatively low amount of money, but wanted it to run. So here we are. So we got the intake here, which is still good. Loctite on the intake bolts. Don't cut. Yeah, I don't cut much either. Just, you know, kind of gone. Oh well. Dumb thing is I forget which way this is supposed to go. Like that. Okay. Alright, gotta use the one that's not cracked. That one's cracked. It goes over there. This one is not cracked. So I'm gonna put the gasket, brandy new, OEM. This now goes together as an assembly. And flat blade. Who came up with this idea? I don't know, but these intake screws here, no longer made. Cannot get them. Unless you find them used. Oh, I forgot something. Knew I was forgetting something. The partition. There's actually a plastic piece that goes here. It's the guide for the tuning screws, for the idle screw and low jet screws. So the nice thing is this partition is current. It's a nice new part. New parts on the saw. Does not have to be ultra tight. You can tighten these later. It's just easier to get this whole thing kind of down for now, you know. Okay. Get this guy in here. Again, we didn't do a whole lot of port work. We didn't check squish or anything like that. I mean, you can do mild to wild on this, but this is a non-decomp saw. I would not suggest increasing the compression by much. Partition has to go down just right. All right, now head bolts. Get the easy one in first if you can. The circlips are checked. They're good. I'm not worried about that. So the trick on these, a little bit of grease on the tip, that way it holds it. There you go. Don't know what that screw is. I'm gonna find another one of these. T20, my T handles. So this is 4mm M5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Not a head slapper. That's good. I think these two screws go in the back here. That'll be good. Stock build, pretty much, Nikki, yeah. I might muck around with the muffler just a little bit. I cleaned up the exhaust and the intake a little bit, so a little bit of maybe extra something, but just want to get the thing going, you know. This is a lot of work, enormous amount of work. Okay. Now what? This is a zillion things to do here. Actually, this goes in here first. That, and then this goes. Down like that, right? Let's take off a little bit here. See if it gets kinked a little bit less. Yeah, fuel lines in. I hope it'll be good for 10 years. Ever hear about this? No. Nothing for the thefts. So, never heard anything back. Click with the switch. I'm actually unsure of whether that's an OEM switch or not. So, hopefully it works. Yeah, it was pretty disappointing, I'll tell you what. Yeah, there should be a rubber piece here. I don't think it's on this saw. It'll have to be the one piece we're missing, which is disappointing, but not the end of the world. We are almost good here, folks. Don't know if we'll get a pop, but I can try. So Loctite, and these are actually 4mm head M4, which is interesting. 394 uses the same screws, I think, which is, frankly, I think dumb. I don't know why they didn't use M5s here. And this does not look like an OEM coil. This looks like an aftermarket coil. Now, I have had okay luck with aftermarket coils on this particular model, but not on a lot of other stuff, especially Huskies. prefer a little better hold than M4 here, but it is what it is. Okay. Put our balls back on here. Think of which direction these things go. I don't remember. Starter. Yeah, that grabs. Good. Yeah, Norm, ask Kenny about whatever other stuff there. He usually has a insight. And strange enough, he's only lives an hour away from me. Not far. And really, I think he's like 15 minutes away from my folks. So these should move freely. Good. Okay, all that's neat and tidy. Found it. See, now you start finding screws and be like, what did I miss? All right. See, this has the removable deflector. Mm-hmm. Oh. Let me get this cleaned off. I'm going to see if I can remove that. Do a little surgery on the muffler here. Just a little bit. Right back. This came out of there. So that's a whole lot better there. Okay. See, these are actually, I believe these are Torx in here. Not T25, it's T20. That ain't happening. Let's try this one. Nope. Okay. Should we get feisty on these? Do I really want to take these off? No, but I'm going to anyway. Ah! Arrgh. Okay, didn't work. Wow. I don't have my. What happened to good flat plates? Who can believe that, huh? Wow. Did it twice. Ah. That's two, baby. Oh, beautiful. Oh my God. This is the money. Look at this. Luke, if you're watching, ha. See, so that we can just grind right out. Nikki, I wish I had a market for more of them, you know? I just didn't sell that many and took $400 on the chin. I still have a couple. Oh well. Been doing that a lot lately, actually. Oof. Okay. Yeah, it's limited. I'll say that. That's just too big. I usually keep, yeah, see, I keep some of the smaller wheels that are worn sitting around so I can get into places like this. And my glasses are good. I hope. Batteries. Norm, you can go back and watch my poor man's porting video, because I've got a the Marathon handpiece, which is a dental handpiece. Now we got an opening. Of course, you get it out. I'm going to go wash this. And while this is in the ultrasonic cleaning itself, I will, what am I going to do? We're going to work on that. That's what we're going to do. Okay. Also got to open those up. Nice thing about these, we just bend them. I don't even need to grind anything, just bend them. You can grab a hold of it. Kitty. There you go. That'll be a bigger opening. Okay. Now what? That. Away. So talking about wisdom teeth. So dry socket hurts like hell, but if you're going to get a complication, that's the one that you want. You would much rather have a dry socket than any other complication. The reason is because dry socket goes away. Other complications don't. They kind of stick with you. So, get a dry socket. Thank your lucky stars it isn't something else. Fully dense. Yeah, hurts. Yep, hurts. And it looks to me, I do not have the correct brake band. Lovely. And that or may not indeed be 262 brake bands. That's not good. I thought I had that covered. Maybe not. Ooh. Right. I'm pretty sure these aren't 262 brake bands, so I'm going to go put these somewhere else. I don't know. Okay, so I don't have a brake band. That's crappy. Can't put that together without a brake band. All right. I'll be right back. Okay. Let's get the muffler. Let's get a pop. Okay. Muffler. Goes on there. That actually. 2 screws. yelling at me. I don't know why. All right, where's my bolts? One, two, why the devil is that not quite fit? Okay. Pretty huge one, modifying something. Don't think there's an actual muffler gasket for these, but there's a spacer, which that will have to do. Ultrasound still on? I don't need it actually. I'll turn it off. Come on. Two anterior muffler bolts. here. Okay. A couple of 4mm for the supports. Okay. Cool. Seems like I should be able to put a plug in here. Handle. Again, we're just going to get a pop here because I can't finish it, but I can get a pop. You know what I mean? Okay. Choke. I'm just going to remove that because it's now set to high idle. Yep, pops. There's the pop. Ain't got no gas in it. No, I know. That's why I put a little brake cleaner down the throat. Set the choke again, because that was just a pop on the. I got to know if the carburetor pulls fuel or not. Come on. Yes. He does. That'll do. Oh, sorry about the ultrasound. Hang on. All right. Cheers to my buddy Buck. Reg, you knew it would take that many, huh? Good. Well, beautiful. Now I just need to figure out the whole carburetor situation here. Let's see how this goes. Good enough for me for now. Oh, Luke just texted me live now. So I think the only thing, I mean, there's two things I'm missing. There's this rubber piece that goes in here and a brake band. I think those are the things that I'm missing at this point, but the rest of it is all pretty straight. I forgot the air jet. Whatever. So I can't put that together until we have the brake band, which sucks. But I think at this point, I will spare you guys the live and just see if I can get the rest of this together on my own time. Clearly, it runs. It actually runs, idles. It's pretty good. Sounds good. Finally together and complete, or more or less, I would say. When it's actually fully together, this will be a fine song, I think. So, there you go. So, a couple quick things at the end here. Everybody, thanks for watching. Do appreciate you guys hanging out. MattsChainsawParts.com. Thanks to Luke for the project. I do, just because we didn't check it. Intake bolts. These are super crucial to check. Make sure they're good, always. All right. Mega, Norm, Nikki, everybody else, thanks so much for hanging out. I really do appreciate it. We will catch you guys some other time. I have a 288. I have another 288 project coming up, and that 261 project. Beyond that, I'm having a hard time seeing the future. So we'll kind of play it by ear as far as that goes. I'm not. I'm still working on the house. So there's a lot of that stuff to do, and busy with work a lot too, and the kids and whatnot. So for right now, I'm planning on doing tons else. So uh, again, thanks to Luke for the project. Hope you like this. This is going to be should be a good saw. I mean, this really should be a good saw. This is a lot of work, a lot of little picky stuff. Um, but yeah. Anywho, thanks everybody, and everybody have a great night, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care. Be safe.